Hey, I'm Todd. I've been a full-time working muso for over 25 years, which means I've spent more time untangling cables than most people spend on their love life. I play solo gigs for pubs, weddings, corporate events, basically anywhere they'll pay me to stand in the corner and make pleasant noises. And over the years, I've refined my setup into something that's powerful, reliable, most importantly, light enough to pack up so it doesn't feel like I'm doing an unpaid shift at a bloody moving company. Today I'm going to show you my entire gig rig. Everything I use to run on vocals, guitar and backing tracks without a band and without needing a forklift. If you're a solo musician looking to improve your sound, streamline your setup, or just enjoy the sight of someone else spending thousands of dollars so you don't have to, you're in the right place. The mixer. First up, the QSC TouchMix 8. This is the command center of my setup. Compact, digital, and full of features that make me look far more professional than I actually am. 14 channels, built-in effects, EQ, compression, quick buttons, a room tuning wizard that makes me feel like I'm in control, even if the room's just an echoey shoebox. It's small enough to carry in one hand, which is handy because the other hand's usually holding a coffee or a sausage roll. Now, to be fair, there's plenty of mixers out there that'll do a great job. You don't need a digital mixer like this. The real trick is just making sure you've got enough channels to run everything you use and then a couple extra for when you suddenly decide you do need a tambourine mic. The reason I like the TouchMix is because it lets me record gigs in multi-track. That means I can clean them up in post if I want to use that audio for promotion or sync the audio to a video from the same night. Basically, it doubles as both a live mixer and a content creation tool, which is a fancy way of saying I can make my pub gigs look like Madison Square Garden if I crop in tight enough. I don't want to do a deep dive on this mixer because it's not about that in this video, but I'm sure there are plenty out there if you want to look into the QSC mixers. I have two of these, one of which I have as a spare at a gig in the event something goes wrong, but in about 10 years of using this, I've never had a problem. Shout out to QSC for making great, reliable mixers for us. All right, the TC Helicon VL3X, the heart of my rig. This is where the magic happens. The VL3X is an all-in-one vocal harmonies that make it sound like I brought friends, guitar effects, looping, backing tracks that keep the dance floor happy, automation of button changes synced to the backing tracks to stop me tap dancing, because I'm more of a singer than a dancer. I've done a couple of deep dives on this amazing unit, and with the magic of YouTube cards, here's one of them here. It's connected to my iPad via BandHelper, so when I tap on a song, it changes my presets automatically, which means I can focus on playing instead of remembering which button turns off the yodeling effect. Again, I have a spare one of these in the event anything goes wrong, with all songs locked and loaded. All right, the Boss volume pedal smoothly dials my guitar in or out. Looks like a wah pedal, but it's a volume. I use it on my left-hand side. It's ideal for strumming quietly during verses and then coming in strong for choruses. TC Helicon Spark Boost gives the guitar a nice kick when it's getting lost in the mix. It's just a volume boost that takes up little space on the pedal board. Right, the Polytune 3 tuner. It's a bright LED display so I can tune outdoors without squinting like I'm trying to read a parking meter. All right, the Fender Smolder Acoustic Overdrive. The Fender Smolder is one of those rare pedals actually designed with acoustic plays in mind. Most overdrives make an acoustic guitar sound like it's been put through a blender, but the Smolder uses EQ shaping and pickup-friendly circuitry to keep the body and warmth of the guitar intact while adding a bit of grit. It's great if you want to push your acoustic into that crunchy, bluesy territory without it turning into a brittle mess. The onboard EQ and blend controls let you dial in just enough to cut through a band mix or give a solo a lift while still sounding like an acoustic guitar, not a bad impersonation of a cheap electric. It's not something you'll have on for every song, but when you want a little bit of edge, it does the job without making the crowd wonder why your acoustic set suddenly sounds like Metallica unplugged. All right, the Crybaby Classic W. Just for when I'm feeling funky, bluesy, or need to distract from forgetting a lyric. Or, you know, just to add a little bit of flavour to a solo. Once you run out of licks, just whack the wah on and just gives it another level, right? I don't use it very often, but when I'm looping stuff, I'll turn on the wah. Speakers and sub. For most gigs I run one Turbosound 15-inch top box. Great speaker, plenty of volume, clean sound, does the job. Used it for years, never failed me. But I always run a sub as well. In my case, this one. Alright? Doesn't matter if it's a big outdoor show or a small corner pub. A sub isn't about rattling the floorboards with bottom end. It's about filling out the entire sound so it feels full, round and even at low levels. Trust me, play one gig with a sub and then play one without, or do a gig with a sub and then turn the sub off in the middle of the gig and just listen to that difference, right? You'll never want to go back. It's the difference between, yeah, that sounds nice, and oh wow, that feels like a proper gig. You know, another bonus with certain subs is that speaker pole mount. You know, that means you can tuck a sub into a corner because it's a square shape and stick your top box or even a lighting rig straight on top of it. No need to wrestle with those awkward tripod stands that take up half the dance floor and usually end up where someone's trying to carry a tray of beers. Okay, lighting. Just one Shure fill light with slowly changing colours. You know, rich colours. It's simple, but it keeps me from looking like I'm performing in a bunker. For wedding gigs, I'll use a Shure 4-bar flex. I don't know if you've seen them before. Shure 4-bar flex. To add on top of that for lighting effects, which you can add on. Mic and guitars. Shure Beta 58. Rugged, reliable, and sounds great with any voice. Industry standard for a pro vocalist. Okay, guitar. What kind of guitar do I use? I use a Maton. Maton are Australian made, and I don't play it because it's Australian made. I couldn't give a toss really, but it just feels right for me. My main workhorse is the Maton 808, which is basically the perfect middle ground between a big dreadnought and a smaller parlour guitar. It's compact enough to sit comfortably for long pub gigs, but it still pushes plenty of volume and low end without getting boomy. The real magic, though, is in the AP5 Pro pickup system. It's ridiculously good for live work. Super clean, balanced, easy to dial in. I played enough guitars where you spend half the gig fighting the EQ to stop it from sounding like a shoebox, but the AP5 saves you from all that nonsense, right? Mine also has a cutaway, which is a lifesaver when you want to take the solos up the neck without feeling like I'm wrestling the body of the guitar. Between the playability, the pickup and the size, it's a guitar that feels purpose-built for solo gigs. Comfortable, reliable, and sounds just like home every time. Been using one for about 12 years and it's never failed me.
She's a good girl, loves her mom.
Alright, iPad and BandHelper workflow. The iPad is the unsung hero of this whole setup, and BandHelper is easily one of the best tools a musician can use. It handles instant preset changes on my VL3X, right? Scrolls lyrics if I need a quick prompt, and it keeps my set lists organised so I'm not, flipping through papers like a lawyer on speed in a courtroom. I've actually done a few videos on BandHelper already, so if you want a proper walkthrough, check one of those out. Here's one here. What I love about it is that it doesn't just keep me organised, it makes the whole gig flow smoother. Tap a song and the presets are ready before I've even started playing the first chord. No fiddling, no panic, just play. The iPad doubles as my DJ. I'll run Spotify playlists straight off it, which just keeps the room alive. I'll just keep the playlist playing throughout the whole gig and ride the volumes up and back when needed. BandHelper for the gigs, Spotify for the breaks. It's the easiest upgrade you can make to feel twice as professional without adding any extra gear. One of the most underrated parts of any solo rig is the spares kit. Here's what I keep stashed in the car. Cables and adapters. Because the one you swore was working yesterday will mysteriously die tonight. Gaffer tape fixes cables, pedals, mic stands, and occasionally the stage itself. True story. Batteries, because wireless gear only dies during the quietest part of a ballad. That's Murphy's Law. business cards for when someone actually likes what you're playing but will forget your name the moment they walk out the door. Spare strings, because breaking one mid-song is only funny if you're in the audience. String winder and pliers, makes restringing possible in minutes instead of hours of swearing. Super glue, not just for emergency guitar fixes, but also for the occasional finger split that refuses to behave. Power leads turns awkward stage placement into, sure, I can reach that. They are essential, since most venues have fewer power outlets than a budget motel. Nothing says professional like asking the bar if they've got a spare extension cord. Portable fan, keeps you cool enough in summer that people believe you're just glistening, not melting. Portable gas heater, essential for winter gigs in those outdoor but technically indoor beer gardens. Hitting chords with numb hands is like texting with your elbows. And having one of those handy can turn a miserable gig into a surprisingly comfortable one. A tarp. Yes, a tarp. Because outdoor gigs are basically a game of will it rain or won't it? And sometimes the answer is yes, and directly on your gear. It's the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever own. A folding trolley, because carrying gear one trip at a time is basically CrossFit without the membership. It turns a half-hour load-in into a 5-minute victory lap. Look, you won't need this stuff every night, but the night you do, you'll thank your past self for being such a genius. And that's my solo gig rig. Years of trial and error, and I'll never use that again. Purchases distilled into a setup that's reliable, great sounding, and quick to pack up. See you in the next one. Unless I'm still trying to find where the venue hid the only working PowerPoint. Okay, the Smender folder. Smender folder? The fuck is a Smender folder?